Well, there's no sugarcoating it for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. They are really, really bad. They've lost 8 games in a row. They now sit at 3-9. More disturbing still, they've been the worst team in the entire NFL to back this season. They actually covered last week. That was only their second cover in 12 games. They're now 2-9-1 against the spread. And if you saw the way they covered last week, they were 10.5-point underdogs against Dallas. They returned a punt, 90-some-odd yards with 30 seconds left, ended up losing that game by 5. So Eagles bettors were very lucky to escape with a win last week. This week, the Eagles go on the road to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa's currently installed as a 9-point favorite on BETDAQ. 47.5 is the total. You know, when looking at this game, you can't help but think that the Eagles look very much like last year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Remember, last year Tampa lost their final 10 games. They were 1-9 against the spread in those games. They seemed to quit on then-coach Raheem Morris. Well, Raheem Morris isn't the coach there anymore. Greg Schiano has come in and, in my mind, should be the leading candidate probably for Coach of the Year because he's taken that team that, like I said, seemed to lay down on Raheem Morris. And there have been some additions. Vincent Jackson, bringing in free agent wide receiver Vincent Jackson from San Diego, no doubt about it. That has made a huge difference to the offense. But by and large, I mean, Schiano, he's let go of as many notable players he has brought in there. Kellen Winslow, who led the team in receptions last year, Schiano let him go before the start of the season. Same with defensive tackle Brian Price. Aqib Talib, the Bucs' best cornerback, Schiano let him go a couple of weeks ago. New England Patriots picked him up. That's despite the fact the Bucs currently have the worst secondary in the NFL, 32nd in the league in pass yards allowed per game. Just goes to show you, Greg Schiano's the type of guy, if you're not buying into the way he's doing things, he doesn't have time for you, and it's worked. The Bucs, they're 6-6 right now, but I mean, we said the Eagles are last year's Tampa Bay Bucs. Well, the Bucs this year, they've totally turned it around. The Eagles might be the worst team in the NFL to back this season. Well, they have been, if you go on the numbers. The Bucs have been the best team in the NFL to back this season. 9-2-1 against the spread if you count last week's game as a win. They lost by 8 to the Denver Broncos. All depends on what line you got. I believe BETDAQ had -8 and -9.5 up. So it was either a win or a push as far as against the spread goes last week for the Bucs. So they're either 9-2-1, 8-2-2, whatever, doesn't matter. The point is, it's been a great idea to back the Tampa Bay Bucs this year, and it has been a really bad idea to back the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we mentioned the Bucs do have a bad secondary, worst in the NFL in pass defense. They actually are number 1 in the NFL in rush defense. Now, some of that could be because they're so bad in the secondary that teams just don't run the ball as much, or some of that could be because they're so good against the run that teams, have to pass the ball all the time. I'm sure they help each other out. The point is, the Bucs are very good in the front 7. If you've seen them play, you know that. They make a lot of plays behind the line of scrimmage, especially in the running game. They don't get after the quarterback quite as well as they should. And they're very bad in the secondary. They allow 300-plus passing yards per game. Thing is, the Eagles, now that Michael Vick is down for the season, I mean, Andy Reid has announced that he's going with Nick Foles for the remainder of the year. The Eagles don't pass the ball very well. Nick Foles clearly in over his head at this point. Now, Bryce Brown has emerged. Bryce Brown, the rookie running back, has emerged over these last couple of weeks, has been a pleasant surprise for the Philadelphia Eagles. But like we said, Tampa's very good against the run. If you're going to beat Tampa, you better beat them through the air. And I'm just not sure the Eagles are well equipped to do that with Nick Foles at quarterback. And when you look at the other side of the ball, Tampa's offense, 4th in the NFL right now in points per game. They average nearly 28 points per game. And that Eagles defense, I mean, Andy Reid, another firing this week, let go of defensive line coach Jim Washburn. This is a few weeks after he let go of defensive coordinator Juan Castillo. I mean, Andy Reid is trying to save himself right now, clearly. And it's not going to work. Andy Reid is done. He is a dead man walking, I believe, in Philadelphia because the offense, his baby, has been the main problem in Philadelphia. They're only averaging 18 points per game. That's 29th in the league. He fired Juan Castillo early in the year, as we said, seemingly blaming some of the problems on defense, or at least making a public statement that we need to make a change on defense. Well, since then, and don't think Juan Castillo hasn't gotten a good laugh out of this. How about this? Under Juan Castillo, the Eagles did not allow 28 points one single game. Now, I'm not saying they were great. They weren't. But they didn't allow 28 points or more once. Since Juan Castillo has been fired, they have allowed 28 points or more in every single one of their games. So you tell me, did that work? I mean, the Eagles, they don't seem to be playing hard. Right? They don't seem to be matching their opponent's intensity, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Like I said, they look like last year's Tampa Bay Bucs team in that regard, and this year's Tampa Bay team has done a complete 180. For those reasons and more, love Tampa this week, -9. I know 9's a lot of points. It's a big number, but the Eagles are sort of a low-character team. You know, we mentioned they don't seem to match the intensity of their opponents at all times. Tampa is not that way. Tampa is explosive offensively. The Eagles allow a whole bunch of points. Tampa needs this game at 6-6. They're still in it in terms of the NFC playoff picture, but they probably need to win out. So I don't see any reason why the Tampa shouldn't really roll Philadelphia in this spot. I expect a double-digit win. Something else I want to mention, the total here is 47.5. The Bucs have been playing a lot of over football lately. The over is 8-1 in Tampa's last 9 games because they score so many points, and because of that secondary, they allow a lot of points. Now, I'm not sure how many points Philadelphia is going to score in this game. They only allow 18 a game, as we said, but the over is a bet I would take a look at here. The bet I like a little more, though, is Tampa -9.